What if I told you that the secret to living longer, reducing stress, and even melting stubborn belly fat isn't found in a pill, a gym, or some extreme diet, but in something so ordinary, so simple, that most of us overlook it every single day. Here's the shocking truth. You don't need 10,000 steps a day to transform your health. In fact, science shows that just 7,000 steps might be the golden number that can literally change your life. Forget the myth you've been told. 7,000 steps could be the line between illness and energy, between burnout and balance, between aging faster and living younger. Imagine this: lowering your blood pressure, improving your digestion, balancing your blood sugar, and sharpening your mind, all by simply walking the right way, at the right time, with the right strategy. Sounds unbelievable. I thought so too, until I tried it myself. Welcome to the Nutrition Institute, where today we'll uncover what really happens when you walk 7,000 steps a day and why it may be the most powerful medicine you never realized you had. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to support our channel so we can keep bringing you life-changing content. For years, I believed what so many of us were told. If you want to be healthy, you need to hit 10,000 steps every single day. That number was burned into my brain like some golden rule of fitness. It was on every fitness tracker, every app, every health article. 10,000 steps. Anything less felt like failure. But then I came across something that completely shook my perspective. Science was suggesting that the magic number might not actually be 10,000 at all. In fact, it could be much lower and yet still powerful enough to transform your health. The real number, 7,000. When I first heard that, I almost laughed. How could 7,000 steps, just a little over 3 miles, make such a difference? Surely it had to be some kind of oversimplification. But the more I dug into it, and the more I tried it myself, the more I realized just how life-changing this seemingly small shift could be. 7,000 steps isn't just a random figure. It might be the exact point where the benefits of walking explode. Let me take you back a few years. At that time, my life felt like it was running on autopilot. I was working long hours, spending more time in front of a screen than I'd like to admit. And although I wasn't completely inactive, I wasn't thriving either. I felt drained. I woke up tired, carried stress on my shoulders all day, and often ended evenings with heavy meals that left me sluggish and bloated. I knew I needed to move more, but the idea of squeezing in 10,000 steps every day felt impossible. It was just another standard I was failing to reach. That's when I decided to experiment with 7,000 steps. Nothing extreme, nothing unmanageable, just a consistent, intentional effort to walk that amount each day. The results didn't come overnight. But within weeks, I began to notice subtle changes that grew more powerful as time went on. First, my sleep. For years, I had restless nights where I tossed and turned, waking up without feeling rested. But after sticking with my daily walks, I realized I was falling asleep faster, staying asleep longer, and waking up with more energy. It was as if my body was finally sinking back into its natural rhythm. Then came the changes after meals. I used to eat dinner and immediately feel heavy, like my body was struggling to process the food. But I started taking short walks right after eating, just 10 to 15 minutes, and suddenly the sluggishness disappeared. My digestion improved, and I didn't experience those sugar crashes that left me foggy and unfocused. For anyone who has ever battled blood sugar spikes, this small habit can feel like a superpower. But what truly shocked me was what happened to my waistline. Like so many people, I carried stubborn belly fat that never seemed to go away. No matter how many diets I tried, walking 7,000 steps a day wasn't some magic fat burning hack. But over time, I noticed my pants fitting looser, My belly slowly but surely slimmed down. It wasn't dramatic, and it wasn't overnight, but it was real, and it was sustainable. Science backs up what I was experiencing. When you walk fewer than 2,000 steps a day, less than a mile, you actually increase your risk of disease. Your body falls into a sedentary state that invites problems like diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. At around 400 and 500 steps, the benefits begin to show, especially for cardiovascular health. But when you cross that 7,000 step threshold, something powerful happens. The risk of early death drops dramatically, mental health improves, and the body seems to activate a whole new level of resilience. The beauty of walking, I discovered, isn't just in the numbers. It's in the way it makes you feel. Walking is accessible. You don't need a gym membership, expensive equipment, or hours of free time. You just need your body and the willingness to put one foot in front of the other. For me, it became more than exercise. It became therapy. One of the things I learned quickly was that walking didn't just benefit my body, it healed my mind. I had been dealing with constant stress and even low moods that I couldn't shake. But when I walked, especially outdoors, something changed. My thoughts slowed down. I noticed the world around me, the sound of birds, the way the light shifted through trees, even the rhythm of my own breathing. I felt present again, grounded. Walking wasn't just movement. It was meditation in motion. Of course, I made mistakes along the way. At first, I thought more was better. If 7,000 steps worked, then 12,000 must be even better, right? So I pushed myself, but that quickly backfired. My knees started aching. My body felt fatigued. And instead of feeling energized, I was burned out. That's when I realized that walking isn't about punishing your body. It's about caring for it. The sweet spot isn't in extremes, it's in balance. I also thought I could undo hours of sitting by cramming in all my steps at the end of the day. But the truth is, sitting for long periods is harmful on its own. No amount of last-minute walking can completely erase the damage. What helped me more was breaking up my sitting time with short walks throughout the day, giving my body the movement it craved on a regular basis. When I reflect on this journey, the most surprising part is how small changes add up to something extraordinary. 7,000 steps may not sound like much, but it's enough to move you out of the danger zone of inactivity and into a lifestyle that promotes health, longevity, and emotional balance. It's not about chasing perfection or obsessing over numbers. It's about creating a daily rhythm that your body and mind can thrive on. Today, walking isn't just something I fit in to check off a box. It's a part of who I am. It's the way I start my mornings, the way I clear my head after work, and the way I reconnect with myself when life feels overwhelming. And every time I walk, I remind myself that health doesn't always require drastic measures. Sometimes it's as simple as 7,000 steps. When I first committed to walking 7,000 steps a day, I thought it was going to be simple. Just move more, hit the number, and wait for the benefits to roll in. And in many ways, that's true. But as I continued on this journey, I realized there's a deeper layer of science behind those steps. It's not just about how far you walk. It's about timing, consistency, and avoiding some common mistakes that can quietly sabotage your progress. One of the biggest lessons I learned was about blood sugar. I used to think walking was only about burning calories or keeping my heart healthy. But the impact on blood sugar is incredible. After a meal, especially one heavy in carbs or sugar, your blood glucose spikes. Normally, your body works to bring it down, but if it stays elevated too long, it can slowly lead to insulin resistance, weight gain, and eventually diabetes. I didn't realize how powerful a short walk could be until I tried it. just 10 minutes after dinner, and I could feel the difference. No more crashing on the couch in a food coma. Instead, I felt lighter, more alert, and my energy stayed steady. Science backs this up. Walking after meals helps shuttle that excess glucose into your muscles instead of letting it turn into fat. And if you're someone who wakes up in the morning with higher blood sugar, walking first thing, even before breakfast, can help bring it down. I found this fascinating because it means walking is just passive exercise. It's like giving your body a tool to actively manage its chemistry. Then there's the mental side of walking. Studies show walking can lower cortisol, the stress hormone, and even help ease depression. For me, the shift was subtle but undeniable. On stressful days, I noticed my thoughts didn't spiral as much if I went for a walk. The steady rhythm of my steps felt like a reset button for my brain. Unlike high-intensity workouts, which sometimes left me more drained, walking left me calmer, clearer, and more in control. But here's where the science really blew my mind. Researchers have found that different step counts bring different results. Less than 2,000 steps a day, barely moving more than across your house, actually increases your risk for disease. At around 4,500 steps, you start to see benefits for your cardiovascular system, but it's when you consistently hit 7,000 or more that the game changes. The risk of dying early drops significantly, and overall health markers improve across the board. It's as if 7,000 steps is the threshold where your body says, okay, now we can really thrive. Yet, despite these benefits, many of us unknowingly limit the power of walking by making common mistakes. I certainly did. At first, I thought I could sit all day and just do my steps in the evening. I imagined that, as long as the total number was there, it didn't matter when or how. But that's not the case. Prolonged sitting carries its own risks: poor circulation, muscle stiffness, and even negative impacts on metabolism. Taking a big walk at night doesn't erase hours of being sedentary. What helped me more was sprinkling in short walks throughout the day. Even standing up and moving for a few minutes every hour made a noticeable difference. Another mistake I made was treating walking like a punishment. I pushed myself to walk faster and longer every day, thinking more was always better, but that led to sore joints, aching feet, and even burnout. Walking isn't supposed to hurt. It's not about punishing your body, it's about supporting it. Overtraining, even with something as simple as walking, can leave you more exhausted than energized. Now, I listen to my body. Some days I walk briskly and challenge myself, but on other days, I take it slower and focus on the experience. Balance is what keeps walking sustainable. Shoes were another overlooked detail. At first, I thought any sneakers would do, but cheap or unsupportive shoes quickly caught up with me. My posture was off, my back started to ache, and I realized that proper footwear matters more than I expected. Walking may seem low impact, but over thousands of steps, the wrong shoes can cause damage. Investing in a good pair of shoes turned walking from a chore into something comfortable and even enjoyable. And then there was my posture. I caught myself leaning forward, staring at my phone, or walking with my shoulders hunched. It might not sound serious, but over time, bad posture can strain your muscles and take away from the natural flow of walking. The day I left my phone in my pocket and focused on lifting my head, pulling my shoulders back, and walking with intention, it felt completely different. My body felt aligned, and my breathing was easier. Looking back, what surprises me is how these small adjustments made walking not just more effective, but more meaningful. Walking 7,000 steps isn't about rigidly hitting a number. It's about learning how to integrate movement into your life in a way that actually supports your health instead of working against it. It's about timing your walks to maximize benefits, listening to your body to avoid overdoing it, and paying attention to the details like shoes and posture that make all the difference. When I share this with friends, many of them are skeptical. They assume walking is too simple to matter, or that it can't possibly compete with more intense workouts. But I remind them, walking isn't about competing, it's about consistency. It's about creating a foundation of health that you can build on. If you want to lift weights or run marathons, go for it. But if you're looking for a daily habit that can transform both your body and your mind, don't underestimate the humble power of 7,000 steps. In the end, what I've learned is this: walking is more than exercise. It's medicine, it's therapy, and it's a lifestyle. And when you respect it by doing it consistently, doing it smartly, and avoiding the pitfalls, it can unlock benefits far greater than most people imagine. By the time I had been walking 7,000 steps a day for a few months, the habit felt natural. But I started to notice something important. How I walked mattered just as much as how much I walk. That was the turning point when I realized walking wasn't just about numbers on a step counter. It was about strategy, intention, and mindset. Once I embraced that, the benefits multiplied in ways I never expected. One of the first things I discovered was the magic of walking after meals. I had always assumed digestion was something that happened automatically, with no real way to influence it. But the moment I started making post-meal walks a ritual, I noticed an immediate difference. Instead of feeling heavy or sluggish after dinner, I felt light and energized. My blood sugar didn't spike and crash the way it used to. It's such a simple change, but it's powerful. Every time I walk after eating, I can almost feel my body using the food for fuel instead of letting it sit there, turning into fat. It's like giving my metabolism a gentle push in the right direction. Then there's walking in a fasted state. At first, the idea of exercising before breakfast sounded miserable. Why would I put my body through that? But the science made me curious. When you walk without food in your system, your body taps into fat stores for energy. So I tried it. The first week was rough. I felt sluggish and even questioned whether it was worth it. But by the second week, something clicked. My morning walks became easier, my energy steadier, and I began to notice a subtle but steady slimming of my waistline. It wasn't about dramatic overnight change. It was about teaching my body to become more efficient at burning fat. Speed also mattered more than I realized. At first, I was content with casual strolls, but then I experimented with brisk walking, and the difference was night and day. My heart rate climbed, my breathing deepened, and I felt sharper both mentally and physically afterward. When I combined brisk walking with interval walking, alternating between fast and normal pace, the benefits skyrocketed. Studies even show that 30 minutes of interval walking can equal or surpass an hour and a half of steady walking. I didn't believe it until I tried it, but it's true. A few bursts of intensity make the entire session more effective. And then came the unusual tricks. Walking backward, for example, seemed silly at first. I remember feeling awkward, trying it in a quiet park, hoping no one was watching. But the results surprised me. My knees felt stronger, my balance improved, and I noticed I had to stay much more mentally engaged. It was almost like learning to walk all over again, and the challenge made it fun. Another trick was nasal breathing. It sounds minor, but focusing on breathing through my nose while walking improved my stamina and left me feeling calmer afterward. But perhaps the most profound shift came when I stopped treating walking as exercise and started treating it as a form of mindfulness. Instead of using walks to multitask scrolling on my phone, listening to podcasts, or rushing to get steps, I began to slow down and pay attention. I listened to the crunch of gravel under my feet, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the chorus of birds in the distance. I noticed the way the air smelled after rain, the colors of the sky at sunset, the tiny details on the ground that I'd normally overlook. At first, it felt almost strange to walk without distraction, but then it became a kind of moving meditation. The stress I carried throughout the day seemed to dissolve with each step. It was during one of these mindful walks that I realized walking wasn't just about physical health. It was about reclaiming presence in a world that constantly pulls us away from the moment. Walking became my way of reconnecting with myself, of stepping out of the noise and into clarity. Sometimes it took half an hour to quiet my mind, but when it happened, it was like pressing reset on my entire being. Of course, walking also opened doors to new challenges. I experimented with hypoxia training, holding my breath for a few seconds every few minutes to mimic training at high altitudes. It wasn't easy, and I had to be careful. But over time, it strengthened my endurance and gave me a new sense of resilience. I also met people along the way who inspired me deeply, like a 70-year-old man who had nearly died from a heart attack, but rebuilt his life through sprinting and uphill training. Stories like his reminded me that walking and movement aren't just about avoiding sickness. They're about creating a life worth living, no matter your age. Through all of this, I learned that the mistakes people make with walking often come from underestimating it. We think it's too easy to matter, or we treat it casually, without realizing the nuances that make it powerful. Walking the wrong way, slouched, distracted, or overdone can rob you of its benefits. But walking with awareness, timing, and balance can unlock results that rival more intense forms of exercise. Today, when I walk, I don't just think about hitting a number. I think about how I'm walking, when I'm walking, and why I'm walking. After meals to steady my blood sugar, in the morning to burn fat, briskly to challenge my heart and lungs slowly. When I need mindfulness, backward. When I want to train my balance, walking has become more than a habit. It's become a toolkit, with each variation offering a different gift to my body and mind. And so I ask you, have you ever truly considered what 7,000 steps a day could do for you? Not just as a number, but as a lifestyle, as a practice, as a way to reconnect with yourself and unlock the health you've been searching for. It might sound simple, even too simple, but sometimes the simplest things carry the deepest power. So the next time you lace up your shoes, don't think of walking as something ordinary. Think of it as one of the most extraordinary medicines you already have access to, waiting for you to take the first step. As I look back on this journey, I'm struck by how something as ordinary as walking has turned into something extraordinary for my health and my life. When I first heard about the 7,000 step rule, I thought it was just another wellness trend. But over time, I discovered that it's far more than that. It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest habits are the most powerful. Walking 7,000 steps a day didn't just improve my fitness. It changed the way I relate to my body and mind. I sleep better. I digest food more easily, and I feel a greater sense of calm in my daily life. But beyond those measurable benefits, walking gave me something deeper, a sense of control. In a world that often feels overwhelming, where stress and distractions constantly compete for my attention, walking has become my way to pause, to breathe, and to come back to myself. The biggest lesson I've learned is that health doesn't have to be complicated. We live in a culture that tells us we need the newest supplements, the most advanced gym equipment, or the hardest workouts to thrive. Yet here is something accessible to almost everyone, free of cost, that can bring real transformation. The simple act of walking. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, fit, or out of shape, those 7,000 steps are a starting point that anyone can take. I've also realized that walking isn't about perfection. It's not about obsessively counting steps or pushing yourself until you hurt. It's about consistency. Some days I walk briskly. Other days I stroll slowly. And sometimes I even fall short of the number. But the overall rhythm, the commitment to keep moving day after day, that's what matters. That's what creates lasting change. My advice to anyone listening is this: don't underestimate the power of small, steady habits. If 7,000 steps a day can lower disease risk, improve mental health, and even extend life, imagine what else might be possible if you consistently chose small actions that build you up instead of wearing you down. For me, walking has become more than just exercise. It's become a philosophy, a daily reminder that progress doesn't always require force or intensity. Sometimes progress comes from patience, from presence, and from putting one foot in front of the other. So now I want to ask you, do you believe 7,000 steps a day could change your life? Have you tried it? Or are you willing to give it a chance? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Please share them in the comments below so we can all learn from one another. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe to the Nutrition Institute. Your support gives us the motivation to keep creating more content that can help you live healthier, happier, and longer.